Hi everyone, and welcome to the third monthly public delivery meeting for Panquakecom. My name is Suzie Dawson, founder of Panquake, and I think that by the end of tonight's presentation, you will agree with me that this is by far the greatest presentation that we have ever given you. Bear with me a second while I screen share and let's get straight into it. As always, we're going to start with my little spiel about where we're at right now in the project. And that is that you, with your generosity and your advocacy for us, have already answered the question of if there will be an application called Panquake that will bring us all life-changing, groundbreaking solutions in the social media space. But we need your help to answer when. And hopefully the content I'm about to show you will cement your commitment to donating to our cause and to spreading the word about us and encouraging others to help to fund this amazing project. I'm going to start with updating our campaign statistics, which is something that I do each month. So these are the key metrics about our fundraising campaign. It is now 14 weeks since the launch of Panquakecom on January 17th. We have 26 team members working on the project, but now we also have 4 full-time contracting staff and 1 part-time contracting staff member. This is funded by your donations. The donations we have received for our second tier fundraising target of $167,000 is what has enabled us to bring these developers onto staff. And I thank you for that, because as you're about to see, we are already progressing at an exponential rate due to being able to have full-time staff working on the project and not just our amazing and generous volunteers who are unfortunately limited in the time that they can donate to the project. So your contributions to this campaign are directly now being reflected in the fact that we're able to hire these staff on and progress that much more quickly. We have 18 campaign updates on our Go Get Funding page, also on the news page of our website. We have now 2,500 exactly donors to this project, which is an increase of 175. We have a current total of donations right now of $119,727, which means we're now less than $50,000 away from completing the current fundraising target. That is an increase of $36,792 since this time last month. We have 3,651 Twitter followers, if you believe what Twitter says, and that is an increase of 243. We have, according to Facebook, only 936 Facebook likes, which is an increase of 22, which, as you can see, doesn't really seem to add up, but that's what Facebook claim are our stats. We are now holding our 5th public event right now, and we have done 12 independent media appearances in support of promoting this campaign. Now, it's really important to me to have consistency from month to month in our delivery. So I want to speak to some of the things that I have presented in delivery meetings in the last 2 months and then update you on the progress as relates to that. So last month I talked to you about our marketing projects that we have ongoing right now. I told you that we are producing a series of short thematic promo videos, that we are dramatically expanding our goodies page on our website to provide you with amazing downloadable content and printable materials. And I told you that we are working towards having a Panquake shop. Well, I am really proud to be able to tell you that there has been dramatic progress on all 3 of these counts. So our first short thematic promo video is going to be released first on Instagram and then on other social media channels tonight at the end of this delivery meeting. We wanted to amplify your voices and get your messages heard. So we picked the best comments from our Go Get Funding page which now has, I think, in excess of 2,000 comments on it from you. And we showcase them in this first promo video, which you will see. It's just a short video. It's about, I think, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 20 seconds, something like that, with some funky music and some cute graphics and your words, because we really wanted your thoughts to get across to the community rather than just our own. In terms of our goodies page, I'm actually going to show you right now what we have put together for you, which is quite spectacular. I'll do that on the live site. So if you go to our website, panquake.com, and you click on goodies, this is what you're going to see. You are going to see all of these downloadable files of varying resolutions and types available for download. It is our logos in a variety of different colors and shapes, all pre-formatted for different social use on different social media platforms. You're going to see some super, super cool new art, graphic art, wallpapers, mobile phone wallpapers, desktop wallpapers, etc., etc. You can just scroll through and pick whichever images you like the best, download them and use them however you like. They can be printed out if you want to use them for stickers or posters or flyers, or you can keep the digital copies for use on your devices or on social media. So they're also sortable by category as well by clicking on these different buttons here. This will continue to get fleshed out over the coming months. I expect that eventually this is going to grow to hundreds of files. But for now, we have several dozen new additions, and it should be enough to keep you going for a little while yet. So I'm really happy to be able to show you that. Skipping back to our presentation, the shop. This is where things get super exciting for me, because I am very interested in obtaining these for myself. I am happy to be able to show you some of our new marketing collateral that will be available in our online shop. As you can see, we have Panquake t-shirts in a variety of colors. We have sweaters. We have hoodies. We have coffee mugs, which is my personal favorite, and you can be sure that you're going to be seeing me drinking from Panquake coffee mugs each time I do a media appearance. We even have umbrellas, which is super cute. We have folders. We also actually have like hardcover journal books, baseball caps. We have tote bags of different varieties and different graphics. We have wall art, which I absolutely love. And we have buttons, which I know a lot of our team really like. And we even have mouse pads, so you can have Panquake at your computer as you work. Now, if you have any other ideas for things that you would like to see available for purchase in our shop, let us know about it, because now that we've nailed down our initial product offering, we will be configuring our shop in the coming month, and then hoping to deliver it to you next month in the best case scenario. We would like to see people able to make purchases this time next month. So if you have thoughts, there's anything you want to see included, drop us a line, contact@talkliberation.com. We do take your wishes very seriously. We do take your feedback on board, so feel free to reach out to us. With the fun stuff over, we're going to get into the technology side of the delivery. But first, I wanted to show you this. This is the new technology section on our website. So we get a number of questions about tech emailed to us on a constant basis, actually. And we wanted to create a single place where people can go to access information about the tech behind Panquake. So we have created the tech section right here on panquake.com. And here you will see all of the technical slides that relate to our product, which the technical slides that we've made publicly available so far, with little explainers about what they are. You can mouse over them and click on them and open them up and get a closer look at them. And if you scroll down, You'll see that we also have a selection of video presentations that specifically pertain to the tech that's behind Panquake and that's under our engine. And you'll see also here the delivery meetings. There we go. There's the April delivery, which we're doing right now, which will be uploaded and sitting in that space very soon. So if you have questions about tech, or if you see people asking questions about the tech that's involved in Panquake, you can point them to the site, or you can this page, or you can come to it yourself, search out the information you want, and then link to it directly. Now, on the theme of wanting to follow up on information or promises that we've made in previous deliveries, we're about to do a bit more of that, but we're going to get pretty deeply technical while we do. I just quickly wanted to start by updating you on the front end build progress. So right now we are in a process of refining and then systematically signing off the final front end screens for the application. And that is a painstaking and ongoing process. Painstaking because we look at literally every single letter, every dot, every pixel on the page, make sure that it is 100% correct and accurate in what we want. And then we sign off on those screens and file them away in our internal directory, what actually we call the UIUX design info doc. Once that is complete and every single screen is signed off on, that's when we can begin to build out those front end pages. So this is a really super important step that we're on right now. I anticipate it's going to last several weeks longer just because of the number of screens that we're dealing with. And then we will be able to get into the meat of the front end build, and that's going to get super exciting for us. Once we've built out those pages, we're going to be able to begin our quality testing and user testing, and then incorporating user feedback. So we're going to be pretty much nearing the final phase at that point. Now, you may remember back in February, I presented this slide of production metrics, and in it I explained that we had developed 39 use cases for users, workflows that for users using the application. Those use cases contain a number of functions per use case, 82 in total across the 39 use cases, and those are broken down into 8 separate workflows. And we produced 24 mockups based on those. So I wanted to show you an example of what one of those use cases looks like. And I have taken an old, out-of-date slide that has been modified and expanded upon since, just to give you some idea of the standard of documentation, of build documentation that's being produced in this project. So you'll see that nice little blue box says out of date. This is from January 2021, this particular use case. It's one of the original drafting docs, and we're only providing it as an example of Panquake dev work format. For obvious reasons, we're not giving away current IP. So the reason that I want to show you this, and then the next slide is an example of a front-end workflow, which is visualizing the use case process, the process for the user of moving through that use case. The reason that I want to show you this is so that I could better explain the production metrics for this month in April. So in April, we have begun creating the use cases for the back end of the application. And we've done that by creating a series of use case diagrams. We've been creating class diagrams, which is grouping classes together in logical order. As part of that organization of data that I was talking about last month. And I told you last month that we had our organization of data and our determination of object methods, which is how we pass data through the system, that was in progress. Well, I can now confirm, because of the work that's being done on it and by the amazingness of having full-time developers now, that work is going to be completed by May the 5th, which is a very comfortable deadline for us actually, for the amount of work that is to be done in that time frame. That is going to be absolutely huge for us, because that is a massive milestone for us in terms of mapping the application and how it actually functions and works and having all of the code references confirmed. I also can tell you that since bringing on the full-time devs, we've had between 4 and 7 major daily commits to our Git per day. And when I say major commits, I'm not talking about like just changing a line here or a line there or adding in some text or whatever. I mean, new files produced by them. So it's been absolutely fantastic having them on board full time. So what does that look like? That's something I really wanted to show you because transparency is important to me. And there is a myth that um, building the back end of an application is all about code. And the more code you have, the more advanced your application is, or the better your application is. This is completely false. The only people who measure the success of a major back-end commercial build by the number of lines of code you have are people who, frankly, don't have a clue how to build enterprise software. Actually, what it's about is the level of planning and the level of documentation and how fine-grained that planning is. Because what you want is your code to be concise, not voluminous. You want your code to be modular. The more time that you invest in planning and mapping the back end of your system, the better and faster your coding phase will go and the less problems you'll have after the fact. So I wanted to show you that Panquake is not just a group of people who have hobbyists or enthusiasts who have, sat down and had a chat and started writing some code. That's not what this is at all. This is a proper major commercial grade enterprise software development project. And that's reflected in some of our back-end documentation. So here we have an example of some of our class diagrams. We have an example of some of the modeling work that is going on for our DB modeling. We have sequence diagrams showing movements of data and flows, stages of data. And we have down here our use case diagrams. So, and on the right-hand side there, we have a portion of our class library. That class library is what determines the custom language, the glossary of terms, the code references internally within Panquake, which will allow us to develop our API, which will allow us to exchange data with external networks or other applications or other sources. So this is incredibly significant and incredibly important foundational development, back-end development work, that if we were skipping doing this type of thing and just sitting down and writing some code, we wouldn't be worth your time or your money. So I really wanted to make that point and to show you the level, the quality and the level of production that is going into into Panquake's build. And I just want to point out that anybody that isn't building their software using these types of techniques is highly questionable and likely incompetent. Now, I also wanted to build on the first-person testimonies that we gave you last month from our operations officer, from our support manager, and from our accounts administrator by bringing you this report from our lead backend developer. This is their first-person testimony about what they're doing right now and how they feel about the team. That developer says, "I am really excited to be able to work on Panquake, not only from a development perspective, because a peer-to-peer open ledger can be used for so much more than just financial transactions, but also because I've been into politics and net politics for as long as I can remember. As it stands today, it seems the political thumbscrews are being fastened on a daily basis, which makes a platform like Panquake a necessity, not just a new alternative that relies on already defunct social media paradigms. Designing and conceptualizing this is challenging, but also fun to wrap your head around. We have come quite far in figuring out the architecture of what is going to embody the Panquake application that people are going to be using. we worked out how we're going to achieve payments for subscriptions and gifts without persisting the actual user data on our side. A lot of effort has been put into fleshing out the different parts of our application and how they are going to interact with each other in order to achieve our goals without any sacrifice of our principles or our promises. Since we're going to rely on an open ledger as our long-term storage, which does not allow for actual real-time communication, we also figured out a way to overcome this while protecting the personal data of our users. We are not cutting any corners, which makes me really happy, since this is the easiest trap to fall into. Our team is really great, and I feel honored to work in a team that not only knows what is at stake, but also what the attack vectors are that malicious entities are going to lob at us, which enables us to respond to those challenges effectively. So I hope that you can see from that statement that our team really has integrity. It's not just that we have skills, which we do, we have skills. It's not just that we have experience, which we do, we have commercial software development experience. It's that we actually really believe in what we're trying to build here. We really believe in what we're trying to deliver to our users. And we are using best practices to bring that about. Just as our lead developer said, we're not cutting any corners in this process. And that's why we're spending so much time doing proper planning, proper modeling, and not just sitting around and churning out some code so that we can say, oh, look, we've got this much code. No, we need to have a viable, sustainable, scalable, large mass audience commercial product, mass market product. And to do that means not cutting any corners. To do that means using proper process and delivering software the way that it should be delivered. On that note, we have had a lot of people asking questions about the technical side of Panquake, very valid questions, emailing us those questions. And we had promised to those users that we would answer those questions in this public format because we want the information to be able to circulate throughout the community and be available to everyone. So I've compiled a list of those questions that we've received over the course of the last month, and I'm going to put them to my colleague, Sean O'Brien, founder of Yale Privacy Lab at Yale School of Law, who is also an amazing and integral part of the Panquake project. And Sean is going to join me, and we're just going to do a quick question and answer type format to hopefully answer your questions and maybe even inspire some new ones for you. Hi, Sean, welcome to the stream.
Hey, Susie. I'm extremely excited to be here, and I want to get my hands on some of that merch when it's available, definitely.
You can get in line. Like, seriously, right? I'm going to be first in the door. There's no doubt about that. I cannot wait. It's going to be amazing. But Sean, let's just try and tackle these one by one. And there's no better person probably on this planet to be answering the first question. The first question is, will Panquake truly be free and open source software, or does it just use some free and open source software components?
Sure. So I can tell you that's not just a slogan. I know we've had a number of people inquire because so often projects will sort of pretend to embrace free and open source software. Panquake will be fully embracing it. It will truly be free and open source software, often under licenses that are broadly called copyleft. So that's the GNU General Public License, the Affero General Public License, and so on. And there's a real focus on the public good in that way. But there's also an understanding amongst the staff, amongst the devs, myself certainly advocating for it, that having that code open and available to audit, having especially essential parts of the network for security and encryption and so on, that really strengthens the network for everyone and really the privacy and security of the users. So. Oh, beyond that too, I do need to say, because I'm thinking about the merch still, Panquake will be able to really promote FOSS to a major audience. So obviously the marketing and so on, you can already see there's a real grassroots sort of approach to getting people on board, getting mainstream non-geek users. So I'm excited to see Panquake sort of bring FOSS to a major audience.
Thank you for that. That's super cool. Next question. Will users be able to build their own Panquake front end?
Yeah, so of course, the distributed ledger, the blockchain behind Panquake will be public and decentralized and viewable. And there'll be some interop with other networks. Users will be able to interact before signing up for a subscription and so on. But there aren't any plans right now for any sort of alternative front end. Who knows what the future holds?
Thanks, Sean. Is Panquake in competition with the Fediverse?
This is something that's so absurd. It's ridiculous, but I can understand, right? Especially because there have been so many sort of attacks on alternative decentralized social networks. Panquake has embraced ActivityPub, which is the major standard behind Mastodon and other Fediverse networks. And there will be push-pull via that protocol to the Fediverse. So there'll be, again, significant interop. There'll be features and potentially partnerships with the Fediverse on the horizon. And at some point, we'll have details about that.
So I'm just going to try and translate that into slightly less geek speak for normal people. Basically, and this is how I would have answered the question as well, Panquake is interoperable with the Fediverse. What that means is that the Fediverse will have a greater number of total users because of Panquake. Panquake users will increase the number of users who are participating in the Fediverse. And therefore, Panquake is probably one of the greatest things to happen for the Fediverse in some time, because we are fully anticipating that we will be able to bring significant numbers of users to our platform. And that will dramatically increase the user base too for the Fediverse as a whole, and also the profile of the Fediverse, which we will continue to promote and continue to encourage interoperability with and work towards ever greater interoperability with. So that means that people who love Mastodon, people who love various Fediverse products, decentralized applications, should be thrilled about Panquake. We're not your competition, we're your friends, we're helping you. And if you help us, you'll be helping yourselves. So that's how I would phrase that. Much as you made the very valid point that we absolutely not only are free and open source software, but are willing to champion free and open source software on principle and to a mass audience. So FOSS is our friend. Okay, so next question. Will Panquake be truly decentralized, and how?
Sure. So there's a number of different ways that the design and also the development behind Panquake is decentralized. Panquakecom will be basing the network on a non-financial, non-monetized proof of authority consensus model. It's something called Byzantine fault tolerance, which is very, very cool stuff.
Delegated Byzantine fault tolerance, not to be confused with Byzantine fault tolerance.
That's right. Trying not to throw too much out there, but anyway, so basically, nodes on the network will be able to participate in a consensus model, and then others can also inspect and host the blockchain if they wish, right? And that, of course, is the stuff that you've heard about from DApps, decentralized apps. That's the stuff that makes the network truly decentralized, portable in a sense, censorship resistant in a sense, right? On top of that, though, Panquake.com is going to have some very serious client-to-client interaction. So the topology of the network in some parts is going to be very much different than what you might expect from a traditional decentralized network. I know we've talked about things like libp2p and so on. So that sort of peer-to-peer interaction is going to be there too.
And I think that's a really important point, because many of the people who are emailing us questions are doing so absolutely in good faith. They're trying to understand what we're doing, and they're curious and genuinely intrigued by it. But the problem is, if you have an understanding based on what is out there and you try to apply that understanding to Panquake, you're going to come up short, because the things that Panquake are doing are not out there. And until you see our secret source upon beta release, there are things that just won't click for you. And we have done everything we can to be, as you can see, to be as transparent as we possibly can throughout this whole process of this project. But for obvious reasons, we're not releasing new innovations until they're ready to be used by our user base, until they're available to our user base. We don't want to make things available to competitors or to hostile forces before we make them available to friendly forces and to our donors and our community who have supported this project. So please just be aware that there are a number of unique innovations, not just in terms of functionality of the application, but in terms of networking innovations, serious networking innovations, also in some innovation in the encryption layer as well. So there is a need to just kind of hold your horses a little bit for a few months. Some smart cookies might start to work out some of what we're getting up to, but don't think just because we name drop certain protocols or certain libraries that we're operating within the limitations of those technologies either, because that's certainly not the case.
Yep.
So next question for Sean, when will I be able to see Panquake's code?
I think you sort of just talked about it a little bit. It's obviously really important that the so-called secret sauce, right, the amazing stuff that's going on, isn't disclosed right away. But also it needs to be worked on, right? It needs to be developed. We're talking about really innovative, important stuff. Stuff, by the way, which will move faster if you donate to Panquake. As Suzie said before, the money's going towards full-time developers, and that's why things are already progressing so fast. But it could be even faster, and you will see those fruits, on a faster timeline if you donate in the project. I don't know, can get even cooler, even faster, which I hope. So as far as, disclosing the code, my understanding is that won't happen until around the 2.0 release. There might be some components maybe published before that. And there'll be, of course, a lot of internal testing, some auditing and so on before that.
So the functionality that relates to the beta release, you will see released to the public with the beta. But as anyone who's seen the tech deep dive stream we did and seen me work through the different functionality sets of the different releases and the multiple iterations of Panquake that there will be prior to the 2.0 public release, we'll see that we will not be releasing the code that relates to that expanded functionality set until those releases have occurred. So that's the basic answer there. Okay, why aren't you, this is my favorite one. Why aren't you using X-Chain or Y Solution or Z crypto platform?
Yeah, so there's obviously been a lot done out there in all kinds of different directions and plenty of failed projects out there, right? Panquake has the ability to learn from the past and also bring stuff into the future, really build something new, different, and innovative, like we were talking about. So, I mean, the team appreciates feedback, and as we've been saying, the product will have broad interoperability with other projects in the free and open source software space and probably beyond as well. But the devs are making choices based upon what best fits the models that they're working on, and also the ones which are best for users, right? You don't want to shoehorn something into something else that doesn't quite fit. So it's really important to make sure that the technology that's chosen is really smart, where things need to be, sort of developed, quote unquote, from scratch, they will be. And we'll be also, of course, relying upon strong encryption, these kinds of things, which a lot of these other projects use as well, but doing things in a little bit of a different way, which, Suzie sort of hinted at. So I don't know. The Panquake team is finding that a lot of the solutions that are out there just don't quite fit. So where existing solutions do, that's great. And we do like the feedback, but many times Panquake will be sort of treading its own road. So
I completely agree with that assessment. The reality is we have a very different business model to anything that was out there before. Our whole subscription model, our commercialization model is very different to what else is out there. Our product itself has a whole bunch of new functionality that isn't available out there. And some of the innovations around encryption and networking either don't exist or don't exist in this type of application. So it's almost impossible for us to just go jump on some cookie cutter solution. And particularly where those solutions in the blockchain space tend to be based around smart contracts, financialization models, monetized chains, et cetera, none of which applies to what we're actually trying to do here. Furthermore, governance is an issue too. We need to be in control of the development of our own chain. We need to be able to tailor it entirely to our business and to our product. And as Sean said, to our users, because ultimately we're delivering solutions for our users around privacy and anonymity that are only a very small number of technology solutions on the planet right now could even begin to measure up against, if let alone surpass. So that's basically it. Now, we do take seriously your suggestions when you send them to us. We do our research hours. We do go and talk to people from other projects, and we do form relationships with them and work where we can. However, we won't be adopting any single external solution, proprietary or FOSS, as the whole basis of our product. That's just simply not happening. This is a fresh custom build. It needs to be, and will continue to be. Okay, so what about the electricity, Sean? What about the electricity bills?
That's all you hear when you mention blockchain these days, right? So everything's not Bitcoin, right? That's the big point here. First off, the Panquake staff care very much about the environment. Already the infrastructure and the development environments and so on that the staff is working on are already on green hosting. So, already that stuff is being considered, right? But there's no proof of work going on here. There's no reason to think that there's some enormous amount of energy that's going to be expended. Suzie has purposefully chosen, and the devs are purposefully pushing forward models that can reach consensus, can write to the blockchain without having to do those kinds of things that require enormous hardware resources. So.
Yep, and again, it comes back to our primary chain not being financialized, not being monetized. So we don't have to have the giant mining operations all over the place. And as Sean rightly states, being hosted in Iceland, we're on geothermal. So the combination of those factors makes us the least likely target for criticism along the what about the electricity lines, which, to be honest, I find quite a bit of that to be quite disingenuous and usually by people who have some type of agenda other than just the betterment of the planet, in my personal opinion. Can I join without donating, and can I join for free? I'll take this one on. So yes, you can join for free, and yes, you can join without donating. So every person on the planet is going to be able to join Panquake. And no, they don't have to pay in the first instance. When you hit our domain, when you land on Panquake.com, you are going to, by default, have an anonymous Panquake account already created that you can use from the second you hit the landing page. It will have a limited functionality set. It will allow you to do the most basic of things. If you want access to all of the innovative new features and the amazing amplification features and the various cool functions that we've developed and some of the other additional extensions, which I won't be mentioning for some time yet to come, you will need to pay your $5 and register an account. If you cannot, because of financial hardship, we will grant compassionate accounts to people who are genuinely facing hardship circumstances. As I've mentioned many times, that is really important to us, especially in the world that we're all in right now. It's really important to recognize that some people simply cannot pay. But those who can are expected to pay their $5, pay their share. And also we're allowing people to gift accounts to each other as well, or to bulk purchase accounts too. So there's a multiple different options, but yes, you can use it anonymously, and yes, you can use it free. Yes, you can join it without donating. You simply wait till the 2.0 public release and everybody will have the option of joining Panquake. If you want to get in a little bit earlier, you can donate. You will be given an early access code and onboarded first. But these things are no way tied. There are many people donating who may never even get it, never even end up on Panquake, but who on principle support the project. We've had multiple comments by people who say, I'm not a social media user, but what you're doing is really important. I don't have Twitter or Facebook account, but I want to support your project. So it's not about tying donations to access to the platform. That's simply not the case. Access will be free, open, and anonymous for everybody by default.
Yeah, and I think that feature will be a huge, huge deal. It really just reminds me of, for example, Radiohead dropping an album for free. Everybody knew you could do that, right? But it took somebody to actually try to do that and do that for a lot of users. And Panquake will be doing that here with the compassion accounts. Those will be incredible.
I feel like it's our duty, to be honest with you. I feel like it's our duty to humanity.
Sure.
Panquake isn't collecting our info, but what about the payment providers?
Yeah, so Panquakecom is very serious about, and has really spent a long time, or not a long time, a short time, but a large amount of planning on making sure that the payment systems will be compartmentalized, right, from the rest of the network. And of course, there'll be alternative payment choices such as cryptocurrency. It sort of remains to be seen what kind of payments will be happening, but none of those payments services will have your, user data or any of that. So.
Sure. So I would add to that we are deliberately, in the case of card payments, providing information about what types of data you give up and to who and to where at the point at which people are selecting those payment options, because we want everybody to be informed. We are also sending users out to the websites of the payment providers to submit their personal information. What this means is that there will never, ever, ever, ever be a Panquake.com breach where your credit card details will be leaked, because we will never, ever have them. We will never have your real name, your address, your telephone number. We won't even have your email address. So information that you are submitting through those card payment systems are staying on those card payment systems, and we have gone to great lengths to architect our system in a way to ensure that none of that data ever comes back with you from the payment provider to us. We have completely segregated that process to ensure that there can never be a Panquake.com data breach which can ever put you in jeopardy, the way we have seen happen with so many major platforms. So that was, again, a priority to us. Not only do we not want your data, we are making sure that we don't get your data from any third party or from any other service that we integrate with. It's not just a promise, but a priority for us. We don't want the information under any circumstances, and are making sure that we don't ever get it. So we can't do much about what the current financial mainstream paradigm expects from you in terms of data. But we can do everything we can to protect you on our end. That's our responsibility and that's our commitment. And as Sean says, if you are really hardcore about privacy, learn about Monero, learn about Zcash, use them. We provide both as payment options on Panquake.com. There are ways that you can make financial transactions and protect your privacy as well. It takes a bit of effort and a bit of learning and maybe a bit of setup, but you can do it. It is there. It's out there if you're really committed to finding out about it. Okay, so how is user data? Oh, this is a good follow-on. How is user data being stored?
Yeah, so just like you said, making sure that the payment systems are completely separate and so on. There's also a great deal of effort going into being serious about users controlling their own sensitive data, right? And the devs are working on a number of ways to safeguard that data and really put the keys to that data in the hands of the users themselves. So some of that is innovative stuff that we can't talk about yet, but some of it is also just using best practices for encryption and so on. The decentralized model helps quite a lot, but of course there are, decentralized services that will store some piece of personal information somewhere where it shouldn't be. Part of this planning process that Suzie talked about, right? Going through and making sure you're actually planning out each component and going, each part of the build process means that you can stop and slowly look at those interactions and say, okay, is this going to potentially expose our users because some data will be sitting somewhere? How do we make sure that data is not sitting somewhere, right? Panquake doesn't want it. The users should be in control of it. And that's basically it.
I completely agree. The only thing I'd add to that is that right from the very beginning of the launch of Panquake.com, if you look at the bottom of every page on the website, there is 3 little boxes. And in those boxes it says, and of course Panquake has been pancake themed all along, it says, your kitchen, your data, your choice. And in the box that says your kitchen is a picture of a mobile phone. What we are telling you and have been telling you since day one through that imagery is that your device is your space. Your data belongs to you and your device, and it is your choice as to what you are making public or not making public. So it's not just our determination, it's actually your determination.
And I suppose we should really underline this. Sensitive information about users is not going into the blockchain.
Absolutely not. The blockchain, we've already nailed down exactly what is on the chain and what is not on the chain. And on the chain is only content, which I think I've said at previous deliveries too, content which is intended by the user to be publicly available. And that intention is there. There's no incidental collection that's published and publicly. Okay, so will users have to store the entire blockchain on their device?
So the answer is no. And, basically it's been important for the project since the start that the average user doesn't even have to know anything about blockchains, right? Anything about how any of that works can go into an average normal web browser and get to Panquake.com and interact with other users. So that's a huge, huge goal of the project. Of course, folks who are into that, right, geeks or just people who are curious about, blockchain technology, you will be able to interact on that level if you want to. There will be multiple nodes that have multiple copies of the blockchain, but it's certainly not required. Yeah.
I'm sure we don't have to explain to. There is any number of ways to serve portions of blockchain content or store portions of blockchain content, shards, or as they're known. There are a number of different solutions that don't require storage of the full blockchain. So nobody should default to such an assumption in this day and age. Okay, so, we're nearly done. Does Panquake require a desktop application?
Yeah, so that's a good follow-up. No, and for the same reasons, right? Normal people who aren't going to go out and install something that they don't know what it is, or maybe can't install it, right? It's important to make sure we respect users who also may have limitations on their device, may have a device that's locked down by a school or, even a place of work or something, that they'll be able to get out to Panquake.com, interact with other users, have the freedoms that we're going to be building into the platform in a real ad-free, non-surveillance social network. So yeah, there are of course plans for smartphone apps, right? Because that's the delivery mechanism traditionally for smartphone platforms. But primarily we're targeting the browser for this. So.
Cool. And then the last question, Sean, are you reinventing Tor?
No. There's enough folks already trying to do that. But yeah, I know it can seem, looking at some of the goals of the network, around things like censorship resistance and strong encryption and so on. It may seem like there's some sort of onion routing going on. That means sort of just wrapping your data in layers and then unpeeling it like an onion. That's the analogy, right? None of that's going to be going on with Panquake. However, it's really a priority for the project to make sure that the network does work with anonymity networks such as Tor. So again, it's really important for folks to be able to get around, blocks in their network, get around the censorship that may be there, and be able to access the network. But no, there's not going to be any exit nodes or any of that stuff going on in Panquake.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that clarification. I really appreciate it, Sean, and all of your amazing work on the project. You have really just been incredible. I'm so proud of what we're doing. I know our whole team is so proud of what we're doing. One of the hardest things about working on this project is having access to so much information about how special what we're doing really is, and not being able to show it month in and month out. There's slides that I would just absolutely kill to be able to put into the public arena, kill to be able to show to our community, and I can't do it, and that is the most frustrating thing for me. But every month I try and do as much as I can to show you as transparently as I can the progress that is being made. What I would like to see now is for us to be sitting here next month at our 4th delivery meeting, having hit our 2nd fundraising target. That means I want to see $48,000 in the next 30 days, because we've already planned what happens in phase 3. It's going to be huge, it's going to be massive, and it's going to propel this all forward beyond anybody's dreams or expectations. So please help us to make this happen. We need you to be our media team. We need you to be our advertising and PR agency, because, as you know, we don't have one. So it's on you guys. Please get out there, advocate for us, help us get this into your hands faster, and I will see you next month. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.